not be just, or not use peace, or not be caring. There are many reasons why things happen. And we don't want to call it as a disaster, but things happen. So in Egypt, we had a government election with that Arabic Spring, if you want to call, or the Arabic disaster. I don't know what it is. I cannot give it a name. But when all the revolutions happened around 2012 and 13 and 14 and the Middle East, in that area now we're talking, that area in the geography in North Africa and around that area, there have been a lot of governments that were overthrown. They were due to be overthrown. The people never revolted or never talked or whatever, but because of economical and changes, and again, the world is now a small village where everybody is privy to information and is able to access, they changed and started to say, you know what, that's not right. To have a leader for 30 years is not appropriate, and we're better off. So then people had revolutions and stuff like that. When you are happy, when this anger happens in environments where there is no structure, then you get a lot of extremism, a lot of difficulties, a lot of issues, and that's what Egypt had experienced. We had an uprising of a group of people that may thought that they could overcome the government because they practiced support of societies and help the poor and whatever. They thought that they could run the place, and that was the Muslim Brotherhood, who basically took over Egypt for a year. What they did during that year was destroy the government and destroy the country. The people of Egypt are very, very kind, if you will, non-denominational, and they didn't care too much. Actually, the US government supported the Muslim Brotherhood a lot. In fact, till today, they still support them. And they went and did a lot of help, you know, financially and emotionally and all that stuff. And at some point in time, the people of Egypt decided that, no, this is not the way we want to live. Yeah, we can be good and, you know, kind and all that, but that's not the way we want to live. We want to have arts, we want to have science, we want to have tourism, we want people to like us, to look at us, because this is a 7,000-year civilization. It's not even, you know, if you look at the age of Egypt and the age of any country in the world, that is a very long history. And those guys came in thinking that they can, like what the Taliban did in Afghanistan, and destroyed all the history and destroyed all the museums and the art and whatever. That was the next step that the Egyptians had to face. And that was not going to be acceptable to us. Hence, you saw a revolution that took place and overthrown that democratically forced government that was shoved down the throat of the Egyptian people. So now we like our president, and he is not a dictator, as Dr. Siddiqui had stated. The government in the United States does not support the president who is in Egypt right now. In fact, they are always in contextual positions because of some of the things that happen. Again, remember, governments deal differently than human beings. But the goal should be all of us should coexist, and all of us should be happy, and all of us should be caring about ourselves. But we elect our government officials. So if you want, as a human being, to make a difference in a position of your government, it starts from you. It does not start, you elect somebody to represent you, and you have to keep them on a leash, and you have to watch their actions, and you have to be vigilant if you want your voice to be heard. But to elect them and throw them in anywhere, like Washington, D.C., or Des Moines, or wherever they go, and they do whatever, and the lobbyists get to them, and the political money gets to them, and whatever they do to us, and then you complain because nothing is happening or they are taking a position, I think that's where the issue is. Again, it starts with us and it ends with us. And if we want to make a change, it has to be us who's going to make the change. That's my comment.
Let me ask a question to Sister Lisa. please.
Here's the microphone.
I mentioned few things that we are doing here in town, like as an American Muslim, she is the president of the biggest Islamic center in Quad Cities. She has been there for many years. Can she just tell us few things that the American Muslims are doing in Quad Cities?
I was going to say good morning, but I think it's good afternoon now. We've transitioned. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Killinger, and as Dr. Ansari was mentioning, the president of the Muslim community in the Quad Cities. That's the Bettendorf Mosque. And we have had a long history of quite a bit of interfaith work. Some of my best friends are the rabbis in town, and so we've enjoyed being included in so many activities, and we've initiated many activities as well. We always have a monthly volunteer in the local food pantry, and during our fasting month when we're hungry, we gather food to give to the food pantries, and money, of course. And that type of shared value of feeding the hungry is very important to us as a community. We are engaged in a lot of interfaith dialogue, which started with our local nuns, by the way. The local nuns in our Benedictine community invited the Muslims for a discussion 11 years ago, and since then we've had 11 annual years of women's interfaith dialogues. We first just included Catholics and Muslims, then we included Christians and Muslims, then we included Jewish Christians and Muslims, and now anybody. We were very conscious of the fact that we had excluded some, so we said this is a women's dialogue, period. And we have really, really enjoyed that. And now this year we're doing something, we're doing more interfaith dialogues that include men as well. And that is oftentimes a rabbi, an imam, or a Muslim leader, and a priest. And it sounds like it's the beginning of a really good joke, but no, they are interfaith dialogues that we've had for many years in the Quad Cities. We're so proud of this history of having not only civil rights work, peace work. If the Muslims are there, I mean, when we were going to go into Iraq, the Muslims turned out to protest and say this is not a just war. And we all need to stand up, and we're aware that the Muslim community as well needs to stand up in the face of violence, and we have always been vocal, whether it's letters to the editor or peace walks or protests. We're there standing arm in arm with other members of our faith community, sharing that common value of peace, social justice, and faith in God. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I'm a member of the Unitarians and everything. I'm a homosexual. I have no qualms about that. And they're very accepting and everything. It's probably one of the few congregations, the only one that marry people. They did put an ad in the paper about how people are aware of that. And it's kind of interesting. You have a religious, protection of religion in all these states and everything, which kind of pushed back from, having gay people marry and everything, which always happens and everything. It's a slow progress. We have all that, but I notice there's a commonality in all this and everything, that runs through the Unitarians. And I don't know about Lutherans, I can't speak for everybody, but it's interesting the commonalities we have when we fight over the differences. We politicize it, and 200 years is going to be like, this won't mean anything. What were these people thinking? Just generalize.
Was that a question? Was there a question there?
Oh, I sometimes, basically kind of the plurality of, religion and homosexuality and, just how's the response to,
Okay.
to that.
I'm sure we'll all want to respond to this. His question was, I surmise, the attitude toward homosexuality amongst our religions.
Right.
Okay. We all know there's great diversity inside of Christianity about that matter. And people of good faith, good conscience have different positions. Here in Clinton, I presided over a gay wedding last summer, so I'll let that speak for itself. But, you know, there'll be, I'm sure, good reasons for different interpretations with our Abrahamic kindred. So I wanted them to speak for themselves.
So you have a question? Did you want to answer it? Yes.
I can give my thoughts as a human, not as a Muslim scholar, but as a human who happens to be Muslim. I think that there are people of all different faiths here and also of all preferences here. And we, as humans, I've always felt, need to show respect to other humans, regardless of where they are or what they believe. And that core value is a value in Islam, and needs to be the value of all humans, is respect and fair and just treatment and kind treatment of every human being.
There was another question back there.
I just wanted to say that I belong to the Lutheran church that Pastor is talking about, and so does my sister-in-law here. We attended the wedding of the homosexuals, and they're just wonderful people. We're very proud to have them as members of our church.
Any other questions?
Well, I would like to invite Sister Lisa here to give the closing remarks.
All right, and I think that I can't speak for other people, but we'll stay for a few minutes. If there's questions that you had that you'd like to ask in private or were curious about, you're welcome to stay and ask. But I've been asked to give an interfaith prayer. Let us pray. God, Creator of all, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for bringing us together, bringing together people of faiths to get to know one another. Bless those who have gathered here and guide us towards your light and mercy. Help us to be kind to one another in our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. Bring us together again to serve you, O God, with humble hearts. Help us to stand together as one community of faith to help those in need, to relieve the suffering of those in sorrow. God, we give thanks to you for your many, many blessings every day. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for coming.